The Love Affair event is on at Whole Foods Market with deals on delicious desires through February 14th. The floral department's in full bloom, so look for savings on double dozen bunches of roses. In the meat and seafood departments, save on animal welfare certified New York strip steaks and sustainable wild-caught lobster tails to make the night sizzle. Gifts from the wellness and beauty department are always a nice touch. And you have to grab those chocolate-dipped strawberries. Make Whole Foods Market your Valentine's Day destination.
Fat and weak, what a disgrace. Guess the champ got too lazy. Ain't gonna fly now, he's just taking up space. Sold his gloves, threw his eggs down the drain.
All right, Matt, we're on the final parody of In 3D. I either see it listed as The Rye or the Kaiser, I see it listed as Theme for Rocky XIII, or I've seen it listed as Theme for Rocky XIII, in parentheses, Rye or the Kaiser. So whatever you call it, this is the final one. It's a parody of Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, and it talks about a washed-up Rocky Balboa now just running a deli and occasionally beating up liverwurst. So that's all Wiki could give me on this one too. Not a very beloved song based on the very little that was on Wiki, but I have always really enjoyed this song.
Yeah, well, it's I'm glad you pointed out the lyric thing because I didn't notice. You're right. On In 3D, it's called Theme from Rocky XIII, parentheses, The Rye or the Kaiser. On the Food album, it's credited as The Rye or the Kaiser.
But then on Wiki, it's literally just Theme for Rocky XIII.
Exactly.
So
yeah. I love the fact when I was a kid and I heard this for the first time. We've talked before, like Food album was my first thing. It took me an embarrassingly long time. Like I'll say within the last couple years, really, that I appreciated the joke of the Theme from Rocky XIII title.
Yes.
Like I did not realize why that was so funny as a kid when I heard it, and now I'm like, that's a really funny name for this song.
And at this point in 2021, I think we're actually closer to Rocky 13 than ever before.
I was just gonna say, like, they keep going. Eventually, we're gonna get there. I guess they technically switched into like prequel, or no, the Creed movies are sequels, right?
Yeah, those are all sequels.
I'm not. I hope this conversation's not too Rocky focused because that's not my. I'm not super familiar.
Same. I've watched the original 5.
Well, you're way ahead of me then. Because this is the sort of, I feel like I've seen parts of a bunch of Rocky movies, but like on cable. So I have no idea what I saw in which one. Like it's all just a blur of Sylvester Stallone fighting people.
For me, it was just, these are all available on Netflix, and I've got nothing better to do.
There you go.
But really, there's only 2 that I would actually actively sit down and rewatch because they're just the right amount of bonkers for me, and that's 3 and 4. Rocky 3, you've got Hulk Hogan and Mr. T in the same movie, which
that's pretty huge.
Done deal. And then Rocky 4, is obviously the Dolph Lundgren Russia with the crazy Rocky owns a robot plot. So those 2 are just wacky enough that I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Rocky won an Academy Award, and I find it a very boring movie to watch.
Yeah, and launched
Stallone's
movies. Whole career, right? It's completely from Rocky.
Yeah, it's everything came from that, and I'm just like, could not care less. Give me Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, please.
Yeah.
But yes, so it is really funny. It falls into that same category that like a couple years later in Back to the Future 2, you'd get like Jaws 14. This time it's really personal. I think that beyond the fact that naming it the theme for Rocky 13, like that is a funny joke all in itself. But then for the song to actually be laying out what the plot of this like pathetic aged Rocky movie is, where it's like there's really no fighting. It's just him working the type of job that a retired boxer probably ends up working.
I was going to say, like, now looking at it, it actually feels like scarily similar to the premise to the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
That's what I mean.
Who literally is working at the deli counter of the supermarket in that movie. I never made that connection until right now, and I've kind of just blown my own mind. That is so weird.
I also like that my Google is to a point where I just typed in the word "the rye," and "the rye" or "the Kaiser" was my second option.
Yeah.
Of what it
Google
was like.
knows. There's nothing else you could possibly be looking for. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's the. So that's what's crazy about this is that this is like the lyric is the setup to a movie that, at the time, this was a joke, and oddly now, it doesn't feel that inappropriate at all. If like, oh yeah, this is just about the washed up. The boxer, a sad movie that, Stallone could win yet another Oscar for if it ever actually got made.
And I love, like, there's even these little references, right? So the opening verse, I think, is very, very funny. And the first line being sung in that Survivor kind of way where it's like, fat and weak, what a disgrace. Like, that just alone is really funny. But guess the champs got too lazy. Ain't Gonna Fly Now, which is a great throwback to the first Rocky movie song. He's just taken up space, sold his gloves, and threw the eggs down the drain.
Yes.
Like, that is brilliant. Like,
it's great.
It's so good because he is like pulling. This is again when we talk about when Al really cares about the subject that he's writing about. Like, he there's no way he just like heard Eye of the Tiger and was like, all right, I'm gonna write this. This will be funny. I promise you this dude probably sat down and watched every Rocky movie that was available to him while crafting out these lyrics to make sure that it felt as close to being in the canon of the Rocky movies as it could be.
It's so true. This is like, I feel like on the surface, this is just like another, you would be forgiven for on the surface assuming this is just yet another Al singing about food parody, but this is significantly more clever than that.
Yep.
This is a really, really smart commentary. And like you said, clearly comes from having watched these movies and really gotten into a genuine thought of where our hero might be, however many years later.
Yeah, and the chorus is just so catchy. The chorus works way better than it has any right working.
It's true. This is one of those, I just, listening to this song again right before we recorded, I feel like the Eye of the Tiger is, that's one of those songs like I don't ever need to hear that song again in my life. Yeah. But this really still made me smile. Sometimes Al's parodies can do that, and sometimes I fall into the same, like, I still, like, it's good, but I still don't feel like I need to, like, I'm not going to get a whole lot of satisfaction out of this thing that I've heard a million times in my life. But yeah, no, this one has its own, it hits different, as the kids would say, I think.
It's also worth noting, like, credit where credit's due for Survivor and their song Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
But, like,
oh, yeah, I think Eye of the Tiger is a good song, but it's just...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, like, it is rare that you write a song that just works so well as a montage song that
crazy.
Someone can change the lyrics to being at a deli asking you which bread you want the meat special on, and I can still close my eyes and imagine a training montage to the music, because it's like the music matters more than the lyrics ever did with this song. Like,
yes.
Which I can't say, like, that's not the same for, say, what I think is the greatest montage song ever written, which is You're the Best from Karate Kid, which, like, that song's all about the lyrics. You know what I mean? So obviously it wasn't the first time I heard it, but the most memorable time that I heard it, sure to be a future guest, but there was this local musician, Matt DiStefano, who had this side project called Team Goldie. And Team Goldie was like in the same vein as like an MC Chris or an MC Lars, where he was super talented with instruments and he played all of the instruments and he would record and mix these songs and then he would put them on iPods and plug that into the soundboard and he would like sing and rap over top of these like compositions that he made. His actual Team Goldie was his more known name, but his original recording name was MC Goldie Wilson because he was a huge Back to the Future fan.
Yeah.
But his soundcheck song was always You're the Best, like to make sure that he had his levels right so that the vocals would like not be overpowered by the iPod or vice versa. And I just remember him playing that at one of his, I would book him all the time. But there was one night we were in a skating rink and he's playing that song And all of a sudden, the whole audience, when that bridge comes in, where it's like the fight till you drop, never stop, can't give up until you reach the top. Like, it was like 200 kids in this skate park just all
That's
singing
awesome.
their hearts out to that part. I'm like, this song fucking rules.
Oh man, that's great. I love that.
Dude, teenage and early 20s doing local shows, the weird little moments that just live forever in your memory banks.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so true.
oh God. All right. So, but yeah, survive. I think I may have known Ryer the Kaiser before I knew Eye of the Tiger, actually.
I don't know. Yeah, it's possible I did too, but it might have been close because I mean, Eye of the Tiger is one of those songs that's like, you know,
Feels like
again,
it's
we were
always
saying
been
like
there.
Al
Yeah.
knows how to pick these because it has still held up to the test. You know, like this song still gets played all the time. Everyone still knows this song. This has been getting played on the radio for like really since the day it came out, which is crazy. The original, not Al's version.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say which one I heard
in a perfect
first, but
world, it would be Al's version being played.
I know, right?
So this is here's the one thing though I will say is at first I was like, yeah, but this song already had 2 years of still being in the public conscience before he recorded this parody. I thought that I was like, this was in Rocky IV, right? That was 1980, but it's Rocky III from 82. So it was at least, not to take credit away from Al, but it was already been tested that this song was probably going to stick around in the public conscience a little bit.
It had hit big. It had hit big for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Versus like, we're not too far away from Polka Party, where that is probably the biggest example of him taking some gambles and being wrong.
And missing, yeah. It's so true, yeah.
Honestly, might be one of the only examples of, in the career that he's had, his ability to pinpoint songs that will stand the test of time has been really impressive.
His track record overall is incredibly good.
Yeah, it's just Polka Party is a very unfortunate misstep on guessing
I know.
songs were going to really permeate the pop culture landscape.
It's so true.
I think he was even wrong for 1986. Like, it wasn't even like he picked songs that didn't, like, it was like, oh, he guessed that these songs were going to be huge.
And they just weren't. Yeah. Exactly. I have one like lyrical beef with this song because I really love the words, but in the second chorus, our titular hero suggests an appetizer. And I have never been to a deli in my life that ever offered anybody an appetizer.
You know what?
If you can prove me wrong, I would be very happy.
So I'm not going to say that they offer me appetizers.
Okay.
But there is a Ryan's Deli right by my house. My parents are obsessed with their chicken salad, so I have to go in there all the time. And in their display window, you can get like reheatable mozzarella sticks that they made in there and like various appetizer-like things. I think it's because it's catering.
Because it's catering. And you know what? To be fair, in the final chorus, and I was going to say it's really like finding too many words that rhyme with Kaiser is a real challenge. And he was like, I got to have at least a few words that rhyme with Kaiser.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with you, though, that I've never walked into a local deli, gotten a sandwich, and they're like, would you like a plate of mozzarella sticks to go with that?
And I'm actually just now realizing I said the second. It's the first two choruses both say appetizer, Kaiser with appetizer. And in the third, to validate your point, it switches to let me please be your catering advisor.
There you go. Then
if this is a deli/catering company, I suppose I can accept that they offer appetizers. But yeah, the idea of like waiting for your roast beef sandwich and like, and can I get you an appetizer? I was like, what are you talking about? Where are we right now?
Yeah, it's going to take you longer to heat up those mott sticks than it's going to take you to throw the meat on the bread and call it a day.
Stop talking about other things and make the sandwich.
And I'll be honest, as many times as I've gone into my parents' deli for them to get them that chicken salad that they love so much, I've never thought, man, let me try one of those mott sticks.
Oh my God, that seems insane. The idea of going to a deli and getting reheated mozzarella sticks, that's crazy.
Like absolutely chaos.
I wonder how many of those they sell. You should, you know what, for in the name of the podcast, next time you go, you should like just get like 2 mozzarellas just to see.
The Love Affair event is on at Whole Foods Market with deals on delicious desires through February 14th. The floral department's in full bloom, So look for savings on double dozen bunches of roses. In the meat and seafood departments, save on animal welfare certified New York strip steaks and sustainable wild-caught lobster tails to make the night sizzle. Gifts from the wellness and beauty department are always a nice touch. And you have to grab those chocolate-dipped strawberries. Make Whole Foods Market your Valentine's Day destination.
If you like music and you like podcasts and you like to laugh and you like to learn, you need to immediately subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we dive deep into the story and back catalog of a one-hit wonder band or artist. From there, we have a good, healthy discussion as to whether they brought the one-hit thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit wonder. We have a huge back catalog, and we've done episodes on everything from Don't Worry, Be Happy and the Macarena to King of Wishful Thinking and Cumbersome. I promise you're going to love the show more than Jaquan loved getting tipsy, and even more than Bobby Boris Pickett loved making alternate versions of the Monster Mash. Subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your podcasts.
Here is the one thing that I regret about when I went and saw Wheatus live.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. When I went to
Regrets.
see you live, it was the same day that the My Bologna episode dropped, and I literally
Yes.
was like, I should pick up a pack of bologna and we should shoot a video of us eating bologna outside of the show for the Instagram page. And I was like, nah, that's stupid. And like now in retrospect, I'm like, we should have done it.
That would have been, you know what? You would have really tested my, because I haven't had like bologna in such a
Same.
long time, and I think the like eating it outside of that club would have really
On that hot Friday night.
It was so hot. It was like raining on and off. It was super humid. And the you showing up with a pack of bologna, I would have been like, I don't know if I can do this. I might have had to wait till after the show. It was like, this is like, I'm going to puke on stage. I don't need, like, but I think I said it in the episode, like, I don't even know. Like, maybe I would love it at this point. It's been such a long time. I have no idea how I would feel
It
about
is a real mystery. The one radio show that I listened to has literally had a 3-day-long debate going with the callers on if fried bologna is a great sandwich or a horrible sandwich.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know. I have no clue.
I don't
But
know.
then
I
the
mean,
one
is
girl
this-
posted a picture of, like, it was like a bologna, like fried bologna, but like with cheese and an egg on like a breakfast sandwich. I'm like, God, that actually looks really good.
But see that I could be swayed to trying that as
Yes.
opposed to just like peeling off slices on the street. Like,
You know, we
dealing
stamp
them
our
like a deck of
podcast.
cards.
Yeah, we stamp our podcast name on it and hand it to Walker Buys. Here, please
Seriously.
take a complimentary bologna business sandwich.
That
for-
would really, I feel like for any of the locals there who didn't know, that would really change the vibe of the Wheatus show for those people. It's like, we went to see Wheatus and the guy was standing outside offering bologna, but just raw bologna at the entrance.
Oh, it's so good. All right, so Rye or the Kaiser, you're at the deli. Those are your only two options. What are you picking for your sandwich?
It's a great question. That's a great question, Matt. Well, there are two. It really depends on the sandwich I'm going to get. I like rye a lot because I'm a big fan of a Reuben.
Okay.
It's a great sandwich, so I will often order a Reuben, and that usually comes on rye. But a Kaiser roll is probably Kaiser more than rye, I would say. Kaiser is a better, like, overall. I feel like almost any sandwich on a Kaiser roll, you're going to have a good time. But if you
Why
want to
don't you
get one of
take
those pressed hot sandwiches, like a Reuben, rye bread's wonderful.
Okay, so I'm looking at a Kaiser roll. I wanted to remind myself what they look like.
Yes.
I'm glad I did. I was imagining a different type of roll.
Ah, okay.
I was imagining more of the thin long roll, not the short round roll.
Oh yeah, a Kaiser roll is like what you get like on a bacon, egg, and cheese. If you're a New
Yes.
Yorker like me, that's the
Yeah.
Kaiser roll. Yeah.
So I agree. It does depend on what you're doing. Here's the problem. I'm really not a fan of either. I'm a like white or wheat bread man. Or
Wow, okay.
obviously based out of Philly, a hoagie roll.
Sure.
But
sure.
if I have to choose between the rye or the Kaiser, I actually don't like bread as much as a lot of other people. So I'm going to go with the rye, less bread that I have to work
Oh,
through to get
all
to the
right.
meat.
I like
You
the, I
know,
like
like-
the chain of logic. For what it's worth, I mean, he does at one point offer the rye or the Kaiser or the wheat or the white.
Well, I mean,
There
when
are a
that
lot
gets
of
put on the
options.
table. When the other options are put on the table, I'll take the white or the wheat. But the song's not called the rye or the Kaiser or the wheat or the white.
That's fair. That's fair.
So we
you're
had
going
to
to go with
stick to-
rye because it's less bread. I mean, that's
Less bread.
Wow.
Matt, my
You
brain.
don't like bread. That's so interesting. Like, man,
I don't dislike bread. Don't like look. If I go to Olive Garden and they put some breadsticks on the table, I'm going to get a side of Alfredo sauce and I'm going to destroy those breadsticks. And if I go to Capriati's and they bring me that giant thing of oil mixed with all different types of herbs and spices, I'm going to be dipping my bread in there.
Absolutely.
But I've also like had the hot take that like the only reason I like shoestring fries over other French fries is that there's less potato getting in the way of the salt. So like, like for me, it's like I'm buying the sandwich for the sandwich meat, not the bread. So like, it's more of a frustration of like if I get a cheesesteak and they like make sure the meat and the cheese is consolidated in the center. So my first 2 bites is just big, hefty bites of bread with no actual meat or cheese. I'm pissed. I don't want to just gnaw on some raw ass bread. I want there to be something in between it.
That's fair. And now that you've said that, since this is like, we're on a tangent here, but we're talking about sandwiches, which is really what this song is about. So, as a Philly person,
Yes.
Is there your spot for a cheesesteak? What's
Honestly,
what's the GOAT cheesesteak in Philly?
For me,
Yeah.
leaving Philadelphia and going into the suburbs.
Okay, interesting.
I think that at this point, the Philly cheesesteak options, the Jims, the Gino, Tony Luke's, all of those guys, you can go there if you're a fucking tourist. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you get your
Which
picture.
I always am. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's like you're getting your picture in front of the sign, but it's kind of like going to an In-N-Out to me in California. Like, hot take that I have is that I think that the In-N-Out burger is not that much better than going to a Jack in the Box or any other burger joint.
That is a hot take, Matt.
I know,
All right.
that's in Los Angeles, but no one's posting a picture of themselves with a Jack in the Box burger outside of the Jack in Box. You want to get the photo of you outside the In-N-Out burger with the animal style burger in your hand.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like almost a status symbol at that point. But if you come to the suburbs where they don't have a dog in the race, you know what I mean? Like, they're just going to make it. But the traditional Philly cheesesteak, I actually think is kind of gross a lot of time because it's not chopped up meat. At a lot of those places, they keep it as like the slab of meat. The suburbs places, they chop it up real fine and blend the cheese all up in it. So it's almost like this is going to sound gross, but it's like a meat cheese paste that they're like essentially putting inside this bread. And that's the way I likes to do it.
Do you prefer provolone or whiz?
American cheese, and then here we go. American cheese, and then I order a side of cheese fries with the cheese on the side so that I can apply the amount of cheese whiz that I want inside of it, because like sometimes there's not enough and sometimes it's buck wild too much. So like this way I'm in control of the ratio.
I'm so glad I asked you this question.
Just further examples of how my brain
well,
is.
you
way
referenced
more fucked.
cheesesteaks, and I was like, I bet Matt is going to have some hard opinions on cheesesteaks.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
usually people from the Philly area do. And again, I'm a tourist. I'm a humble guest of your city when I'm there.
Yeah.
And I've tried all of the big ones. My favorite of the big ones has always been Jim's.
Okay.
I think Jim's does a really, really good cheesesteak. But nothing would make me happier than to have an excuse to go to a different cheesesteak place next time I'm in Philly.
Next
So
time
we're going to
you're
have to
down
talk.
Yeah, next time you're playing in PA,
Yeah.
especially you're playing Wayne, you know what I mean? Like, it was closer to come to my house for a cheesesteak than to go to Philly at that point.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
yeah, it would have been.
come down to the Aston neighborhood,
Yeah.
and you can have your choice, because it breaks down. Like, my favorite spot by nostalgia based is Tom's Pizzeria. It was the pizza place that was directly behind my parents' house.
Sure.
I would walk there probably 3 or 4 times every week in the summer and get a cheesesteak. I had this crazy method.
It sounds like you still have a crazy method, by the way, just to be clear.
Oh, for sure. But this is when I watch Stranger Things, right? You watch like a show like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You've got these young kids, they're riding their bikes, they're living their like childhood, middle school, and early high school years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what that brings up in me is this specific summer.
Mm-hmm.
We had a mom and pop's video store by my house, right? And for those listening who are too young to remember video stores, depending on how old a movie was, depended on how many days you could rent it out, right? So if
Yeah.
it was a brand new release, you got 2 days with it. But if it was an older release, you would usually get 5 days. So the way that this mom and pop store worked was that if you rented a 5-day rental and you returned it the next day, you got a free rental.
That's awesome.
So I went there. Let's say school ended on June 12th.
Mm-hmm.
On June 13th, I went there and I rented 5-day rentals, right? And I returned all 5 of them the next day.
Wow.
And got 5 more free rentals, which I used on 5 more 5-day rentals. I figured out very quickly that there was a glitch in the system because when I returned those 5 the next day, I got 5 free rentals. So
What, you're watching 5 movies a day for how long?
So for an entire summer, my method was I woke up first thing in the morning. This place opened at 9. At 8:30, I hopped on my bicycle. I biked home. I biked to the video store,
Wow.
dropped off my tapes, rented my 5 movies, and I worked. This is how I've seen so many horror movies. I worked my way through the entire horror section because I had no questions. I was like 13. No one asked if I was of age to be watching any of these. Rented 5 movies. I would bike home, so I'd be home by like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Start the first movie at 12. I would call the Toms behind my house and order. They would have a 1.5 foot long cheesesteak you could get. So I'd get this long ass cheesesteak, an order of French fries, and like the 3-liter Pepsi.
Yeah.
And then because my parents were at work, my brothers and sisters actually had friends, so they were like out doing stuff. And I'd literally just be sitting in the living room. I had one of those little dinner folding tables, and I just worked my way through a cheesesteak. Crushed an entire 3-liter of soda while watching all of these movies throughout the day. And then I'd make sure they were all rewound and I'd hop on my bike the next morning and rinse and repeat.
Wow.
But Tom's, when I think of Tom's, I think of those memories. They've gone through, I don't want to say they've gone through different owners, but they definitely went through different chefs because like the cheesesteak quality has dipped greatly. So like my heart is like, take them to Tom's. But Tom's is a dice roll on if it'll be a good cheesesteak or not.
Yeah.
Then there's like L'Espeda's, which is usually a good cheesesteak and a great bang for your buck. They put way too much meat inside of the cheesesteak for the price that it is.
Yeah.
But you walk in there and the whole place is filled with like Blue Lives Matter signs, and it makes me really like not want to be giving money to
Yeah,
them.
that's fair.
So the happy medium is the newer spot, Papone's, that makes a pretty good cheesesteak.
Papone's. Okay. All right. That's cool.
It's my long-winded.
That was, Matt, that was a really good. That was like you just told us like your origin story.
Yeah, that's
I was like, that explains why you're still doing horror movie marathons to this day. You're
to
just
this
like,
day.
Yeah, watching 5 in a day is that's a standard day.
Yeah, I'm chasing that high,
Chasing that 5 free movies and a cheesesteak,
dude. The most guilt I've ever felt in my life, though, was the day that I rode up to that video store and there was a closed sign on it, and I was like, I killed them.
But you rode up trying to return your 5. In my mind, like you kept this scam going for years. It was like somehow this video store was like, why haven't we made any money in months?
Well, I've told this story on the Geekscape podcast, and someone pointed out like if a 12-year-old has cracked that code, there was plenty of people.
You're probably right.
Like
about
you can't walk off feeling like you single-handedly took this business down because they couldn't figure out how to fix a glitch in their computer.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true.
But yes, that is the Matt Kelly origin story. I will end with one last sandwich-based question before we go to our rankings. You can only have one breakfast sandwich and one traditional lunch or dinner sandwich for the rest of your life. Like you can eat other foods, but when it comes time to order a sandwich, you can only get the same sandwich for either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So you're picking 2 sandwiches is what I'm saying here. What are the 2 that you're going with? What's your breakfast Sammy and what's your lunch/dinner Sammy?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, I guess for breakfast I have to go with the I referenced it earlier, but being a native New Yorker, Long Island specifically, the bacon, egg, and cheese on a Kaiser roll. Add hot sauce. Do not put ketchup on your bacon, egg, and cheese. Okay. I can't say this emphatically enough. I don't know why people do this. It is a mistake.
So you're gonna be devastated by this. I would put ketchup on a sausage, egg, and cheese, but not on a bacon, egg, and cheese.
I don't. But ketchup and eggs is I don't get it. It seems weird.
I'm a fan, but I'm gonna go one further.
Great.
I'm gonna go with what I think is the best breakfast sandwich in the entire fast food game. I'm going with the sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle.
You know, the McGriddle is a real special sandwich. I agree with you about that.
I found out recently that if you ask politely enough, they'll replace the McGriddle egg with the Egg McMuffin egg, and that is just unlocking a whole new world of your McDonald's breakfast sandwich.
I don't think I knew that they were different eggs on the two.
The McMuffin one is the round egg white with the yellow yolk in the center.
Right.
The McGriddle one is just like a scrambled egg, essentially.
A scrambled egg. I gotcha. Oh, my God. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a very good choice. I'm still going to stick with my standard bacon, egg, and cheese on a Kaiser roll with hot sauce.
Okay.
That's
lunch, dinner?
For lunch, dinner, I like so you said hoagie. Coming from New York, I'm going to say hero. I like a hero sandwich. Yeah. And I guess I'm going to say like an Italian hero.
Okay.
Or sometimes, you're telling me to pick one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pick one. I'm going to say a standard Italian where it's like ham, salami, provolone, lettuce, tomato, maybe some of those hot cherry peppers. God, I love those. You can tell I like spicy things. And the oil and vinegar dressing on it. So it's like kind of soaking through the bread. That's like the party sub that I used to have. Like, again, I know this is regional as well for people, but growing up, you have like a pool party in the summer for some friend's birthday, and the parents get the 6-foot party sub of half American, half Italian.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
The whole American side gets thrown away because nobody wants it. Everyone just gets the Italian side. I don't know why people even did the split because it was all that was left always. That Italian sandwich, that would be my go-to for lunch if I had to pick one for the rest of my life.
So I'm torn right now. I'm thinking, like, do I go with a classic turkey club, or do I go with just an all-American grilled cheese sandwich?
Grilled cheese.
And I'm going to land. I'm going to hit a middle one. I'm going to go exquisite. If this is the only sandwich that I can ever have, there was a place that we used to throw shows at in my local area that was just like a little coffee spot. Mm-hmm. But they had something on the menu that they called the best damn grilled cheese you'll ever have. And I took them up on that offer. I said, let me try that. This was a grilled cheese sandwich, just a traditional, like, white bread, American cheese, grilled cheese sandwich. Nothing fancy on that realm. But they fried up some turkey and put it in there. They fried up some bacon, threw that in there.
Nice.
And they sliced up a Red Delicious apple and put the Red Delicious apple slices in there so that you got like that little bit of like Red Delicious apple flavor when you bit into this grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
If I can only have one sandwich, I'm going with feeling like a king every time that I eat this grilled cheese sandwich. And then, I mean, if you have a grilled cheese sandwich, you do have to have the side of tomato soup. That is just...
you get a side with yours? I wasn't pitched a side with my sandwich.
You can choose to have a side. The side is not like
the side it can change every day if I want to.
Yeah, if you were like, I want but to me, I don't think that there is another soup that you have with a grilled cheese sandwich but a tomatoes.
No, that's pretty true. Yeah, that's what you want.
All right, so how are we ranking
That's a
this?
good choice. Good choice.
I think it's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. Where are we ranking this amongst the parodies?
Amongst the sandwiches.
Yes.
I'm going to put this...
I'm very excited to see where you put this because I'm noticing a theme in the middle of both of our lists right now.
Let's see. I'm going to put this in between My Bologna and I Love Rocky Road.
Okay. I'm going to put this just below Eat It and just above My Bologna. But I love that what I've noticed is that we have a very nice cluster of food-based songs. We
do, and I just...
all
you put yours
together
on the other side of My Bologna, but otherwise we have the same the same general idea here. Yeah, it is true. The food stuff is all sitting together. That's really interesting.
It's going to... we were talking about how we were eventually going to... when we get to like the food album, we'll rank the food songs in order of our favorite to least favorite. But I think it's literally just going to be the same cluster. It's just they're all going to somehow never be separate from each other.
Yeah, they're pre-ranked because we're doing it subconsciously. We don't even realize. No, I actually love the idea of doing that ranking because maybe it will move things around a little bit. But so far, looking at this, I feel pretty good about this sequence.
Same. But
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
Well, Matt, next week we wrap up in 3D.
In 3D.
In 3D, we're gonna have a guest on that episode. I believe we're gonna talk about. I'm sure we're gonna talk about horror movies. We're gonna talk about Nature Trail to Hell, and we're gonna have to rank where we put the entire in 3D album at that point. So,
Oh, man.
stay tuned for where it falls. Is it in our number 1 slot or our number 2 slot? Listeners, find out.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.